Coming up in this week's show, we compare 3 affordable sedans from Japan and Germany.
Should you replace a nearly new Suzuki Vitara Brezza with a Toyota Corolla Cross?
And we evaluate the long-term ownership prospects of a Ford Focus.
Hello and welcome to Buyer's Guide. As always, we'll be tackling a fresh batch of your vehicle-related questions and queries. And here to help us this week are Michael Pashut from Change Cars and Gugu Masuku from All Things Auto. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us.
Good to see you back again, guys. Remember, if you like the panel's advice, you can send us an email to buyersguide@ignitiontv.co.za. And please include as much information as possible, including a picture of yourself. Now we're going to kick off things with a question from Katlejo, who is shopping for a used sedan in a 180,000 Rand price bracket. He has shortlisted a Suzuki CS 1.4 GL, a Honda Ballade 1.5 Trend, or a VW Polo Vivo 1.4. All, of course, with manual transmissions, and they must not be more than 4 years old. Hijacking and theft is not a huge consideration for him, so he wants to know which one will be the most reliable, fuel efficient, and overall better buy. Gugu, let's start with you.
Personally, I wouldn't go for the Polo crime, but he doesn't care about that. There's just too many of them. I'd go for one of the other two, probably the Suzuki. It looks nice, looks good, fuel efficient as well, 5.5 liters per 100.
So it's a great little option there. We mentioned that car a lot on the show. Mike?
Fully agree with Gugu. I'm not sitting on the fence, but the Polo, he does need to be aware of the crime. He can't say he's not, he needs to be. I've gone personally with the Ballade, just like the slightly bigger engine, 1.5 versus 1.4. But as you always say, take a coin and flip it. Yeah. All three good options, with the Polo coming third.
And I think those two cars that you mentioned as well, I mean, they are, I think, nicer looking than the Polo. I mean, in terms of aesthetics, I suppose aesthetics, it depends on one's perception of it. But I do prefer both those cars to the Polo. The Polo's a bit bland inside compared to the
so many Polos on the road.
And you're right, there are so many of them
You know, guys, Katlejo putting in there crime is not a factor. Wants us all to say, go buy the Polo. He wants the Polo. He really wants this Polo, but he wants us to agree with him. That's why he put it in there. Crime and hijacking is not a...
So what do you say then?
I'm saying if that's what he wants, he must get it.
Okay.
But I would go personally for the Suzuki CS.
But he was also mentioning, fuel consumption and maintenance costs. And I think the Suzuki and the Honda would be a lot cheaper than the Polo to maintain.
Japanese versus German.
Yeah, in terms of reliability. I mean, you're going to do many more kilometers, trouble-free kilometers in a Japanese car than you will in a German car.
Now, while the Suzuki and the Honda both are not absolutely standout looks-wise, you're never going to arrive anywhere and somebody's going to say, oh wow, is this a Polo? I haven't seen one of these. With a Ballade or with a Suzuki, there are going to be people who say, oh, this is nice, I've never actually sat in one.
And also, when you arrive with your Polo at the party, the
guys... You leave with it.
No, the guy's going to say, is this my Uber? Oh, no, sorry. How's it, Gugu? So go for the other two.
Right, we move on now to something a bit more spacious and versatile. Reginald is a person with disabilities and he uses a wheelchair. He would like to buy an automatic vehicle that would be ideally suited to the following needs. It should have a luggage compartment big enough to accommodate the wheelchair. It should be user-friendly to be driven by someone with disabilities. Parts and maintenance should be affordable, and it should be fuel efficient. He can spend up to 200,000 Rand, but he'd like to know what we would recommend. Michael?
The 200,000 Rand budget I do not believe is a problem. Again, like our last question, the obvious option for me there would be the Toyota Venza. But again, he's got a challenge with the theft. So I've gone for a safe option, Suzuki Ertiga. Take out the back row or the third row of seats and possibly the second row of seats. What are you thinking?
It's not a bad option. I would go for the VW Caddy. Ample space, sliding door. And I think that's the kind of car you can adapt for a person with wheelchair needs, right?
You can.
Would we have automatic in both those cars?
Well, in the Ertiga for sure. The Caddy, I'm not actually sure, funny enough.
I got the perfect car here.
Okay.
The Ertiga.
No, the perfect car for him would be a 2013, 2014 Honda CR-V 2-liter automatic. It's spacious. The seats are so easy to fold down that it's totally flat. You've got what Honda call their magic seats.
Yep.
And it's very simple, just to pull a lever, the seats fold completely flat if you need to. Got a massive space. The vehicle is a bit lower than something like an Ertiga or a Venza or something like that.
Sure.
So access to get the wheelchair in the back. You know, it's not a high raised vehicle in the back to like you have to lift up to get something in. It's very easy to get that in. It's a very spacious and simple car to drive, and I think that would just nail it on the head. It would be the perfect
I
car.
would then go with the Jazz, Adam, if you're talking about lower to the ground car.
It is also, that is actually,
Easier to load the
it's-
wheelchair.
yeah.
The Jazz would then be what he's looking for.
What I just love about your option, that is still a premium car. Yes, it's approaching 10 years old, but the feel of that car inside, its quality immeasurably ahead of the Ertiga or the Rumion, even the Jazz. Same Honda, but definitely a much more premium car.
What I like about the CRV, like a Honda CRV, is you can buy a 10-year-old one because they are known for being inherently reliable. They just do not give trouble. You can easily do 500,000 kilometers in without any issues. And so if you're buying one with, let's say, 150,000 kilometers in the
Not a
clock,
high
it'll
mileage.
fit into your budget. You're not going to have any problems. You're not buying like, oh, hell, it's at the end of its life. You can do another 150,000 kilometers trouble-free. And you'll have options of 30 or 40 of them on change cars to go and find them. And say, okay, I found the right one, and I want the right color, blah, 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 blah.
The
And the
other
Jazz
thing-
is also great if you want something slightly smaller. You don't want as big. But generally, I think people with disabilities would like something a little bit bigger
Spacious.
that they can chuck the wheelchair in, and if they need to put anything else with it, they can. And that car's big enough to put the wheelchair without even folding the seats down and still take passengers.
What Reginald should do, though, depending on his disability, which, like I said, we don't know, he should contact these places that actually modify the cars for you and fit the modification in to his 200K budget. So he may have to get a car for 150 grand and spend the other 50 grand to put all the gadgets they can put into the car for you for a disabled person to
If
drive.
that is the case, then without a doubt, the CRV is going to be the best one.
Best
for
one,
your budget
yes,
In
absolutely.
terms of pricing.
It's actually a very good point because we consider the vehicle application. Siggy's made a great point there that you would still have to convert it if you do need, let's for argument's sake, say hand controls. You know, so if you need to change it to hand controls, what is it going to cost to do that? Something to factor in terms of the cost of that purchase.
I want a copy of this show today. You heard what he said, eh? Great point there.
Once a year, he comes up with something great. Okay, stay tuned, because after the break, we consider the financial implications of trading in a vehicle after less than 1 year.
And we take a look at a wide variety of bakkies from Mahindra to Toyota. You're watching Buyer's Guide, and if you've just joined us, welcome to this week's show. Steve is 71 and owns a 2022 Suzuki Vitara Brezza, but he would like to trade it in on a Toyota Corolla Cross, which wasn't available at the time he bought the Suzuki. He is married and they have 2 teenage kids. He bought the Brezza cash and it's only done 2,500 kilometers to date. He finds the Suzuki a bit small and the automatic gearbox is old tech. Would he be able to get into a Corolla Cross for 100,000 Rand plus the trade-in value of the Brezza? And can he expect better fuel consumption from the Toyota? Michael, is that an intelligent thing to do in the first place?
I personally don't think so. Having said that, the Corolla Cross is immeasurably a step forward from the Brezza. His biggest challenge, he's made it clear, he wants to put in 100,000 Rand over and above the 300 he's anticipating getting for his Brezza. We don't know exactly which one he's got, but irrespective, he's not going to get 300,000 for the Brezza.
Well, you can get a Corolla Cross for about 350, somewhere in that the bottom sort of range, about 350. So he's going to get at least, he has to get at least 250
That's what he'll get for it.
for his Brezza. And now if you sell it privately, you may get a little bit more. Because it's very low mileage, maybe he's going to get 280, he throws his 100 in, 380, he's now in the Corolla Cross. So it just depends on what he gets on his Brezza. Gugu, is that a good move up from a Brezza to a bigger Cross?
Absolutely. Look, you mentioned the Corolla Cross, the standard one. I would have put him in the hybrid because he is concerned about fuel economy. But the hybrid is more expensive. You're looking at 425 for that.
So that's pushing it out of his budget.
Even in the used market, you're not getting them for anything less than 400, those hybrids. So, yeah.
So yes, it's a good move, but it all depends on the condition of your Brezza. And then there's the other part of the question, is he going to get better fuel consumption? So, I mean, the Brezzas are known for having really good fuel consumption.
14.5 kilometers per litre.
Yes.
Say it respectfully.
Yeah.
If you're not happy with that,
Something's wrong with you.
a hard
Yeah.
to please you, sir.
So the problem is with the Corolla Cross, it most probably will be a slightly more in terms of its fuel consumption.
Yeah.
But overall, it's a better car. It's an upmarket. So you've got your Brezza here, and
just
obviously
more
the Corolla.
premium.
It's a more premium car. That's the better word for it. It is a better premium car, and it would be a good move. And I think you'll find that the Corolla Cross would be long term a much better car. It's a more, as Mark says, premium car. So it'd be a great option.
What is interesting, he's had the car for a very short period of time. He's obviously respectfully taken an instant disliking to a car if it's only got 2,500 Ks, and he's decided he wants to change it.
Yeah, maybe he just saw the new Corolla Cross. Oh, I like that. That's nicer than what I got. I'll chuck 100 grand in and get something bigger, because it's not as big. You know, the Brezza is not as big as a Corolla Cross, and it's not as premium. So you're going to get an improvement.
You know, to answer his first question there, will I get my money back? No.
Can't.
You're never going to get your money back.
But interesting, Sagi, on that particular point, if he's going to decide to do this move, do it now. Another few months, it's a year and a half old.
Yeah.
The price is going to go up on the new Cross. So if he is going to take the bath, so to speak, do it now.
Try and find somebody who's looking to buy a Brezza automatic, who's going to pay, like, let's say 320, and say to him, you can have this
Have
one,
for
2,500 Ks on it for 300.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to get a good deal. Both parties
sure.
are going to get a good deal. Because just remember, if you buy a car and you sell it a year's time, the first thing that you lose, even if it's got great resale, take that 14% VAT off straight away. So if you paid 300 grand for the car, there's already 45, 50,000
Could
rand.
even
gone
make
to
it
the VAT.
15% VAT if you like.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
sorry,
yes,
it's
make
gone
it
up.
15% back. Yeah.
15%. Duh. Yes. No, that's correct. My admin's terrible. Okay, we're going to move on now so I don't embarrass myself more. From SUVs to Bakkies. Nkeba is 41 years old and he has a monthly budget of 7,500 rand, including insurance. He would like a model not older than 2015, which he will keep for about 6 to 8 years. He will use the car to travel to work as he's a building inspector and occasionally to tow a trailer. He's considering the following brands: Toyota, Isuzu, Mitsubishi, and Mahindra. But whichever one he goes for, parts need to be readily available. Curiously, he would also consider a 2012 Toyota Prado 4-litre V6. Gugu, what are your thinkings on this?
Well, I think he's going to hate that Prado, the 3-litre V6, fuel consumption-wise.
Yeah.
He
And
does
that's
say
the only thing he may hate.
Yeah.
But other than that, that V6, sorry to jump in like that, Google, but that V6 is bulletproof.
I think there are plenty of options for him. Toyota Fortuner, you can get one at 2.5 D4D for that kind of money, 300K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also said he's got some superb options. The 4-litre Prado is not one of them. Beautiful car, as you said, but the type of work that he's doing, it has to be a double cab Bakkie or a Fortuner diesel, even possibly an older Prado diesel. But the Prado 4-litre V6 petrol is definitely not going to give him 14.5 kilometers a litre.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
He'll be lucky if he gets 14.5 litres per 100. It'll be
Yeah.
far more than that.
So now he also threw in there the Mitsubishi, so you can look at the Mitsubishi Triton.
Yep.
And of course the Pajero Sport,
Sport.
if you want. But that is a great option, and he will fit one. He'll find one in those budgets. The Triton Bakkie would be great because it's very low risk. The other thing to look at as well, a bit left field, but it's the Fiat Bakkie.
Which
the
is a
same
Triton.
thing. It's a Fiat fullback.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
fullback. For a second, I forgot.
I don't
what-
think it's left field enough.
Yeah, no, but it's a
But it's a
Mitsubishi
Triton.
It's
Yeah,
yes.
exactly the same vehicle. It's just got the Fiat badge on it. Now, because it's got the Fiat badge on it, it's not. People are going to look at it and say, "I don't want to steal that thing." But you've got all the Mitsubishi mechanicals. You can buy parts from Mitsubishi, and you must probably get a great deal on one of those because you'll
of the
find a
badge.
low mileage one, and people don't want them because they don't realize that it's a Mitsubishi. So it'd be a great option to look at in terms of a double cab Bakkie.
So is that what you're going to go for?
I would say the Fiat
Mitsubishi.
fullback or the
No,
Mitsubishi.
Mitsubishi.
Yes.
Mitsubishi. And I don't need to say anymore.
Yeah.
I've convinced Adam that the Mitsubishi is the way to go.
Yeah, sure.
That was what I put down there. You can read my notes.
Yes. It
Gugu,
says there buy
Your
something
take on
else,
that? Your final take?
I'm happy with the Mitsubishi.
You have the
Yeah,
Mitsubishi.
or the
Yeah.
Fiat.
Okay.
Have a look at that. I mean, that
Have a look at the Mitsubishi.
I mean, he threw in the Mahindra as well. I mean, the Mahindra Bakkie is not a bad option. It's a good value
You
for
can
money
do better
option.
than the Mahindra in that price range.
You can do better than the Mahindra in the price range, but one of his criteria was great parts availability. And
on the
if you're
Mahindra-
running around the country that, unfortunately, there's not a great backup of
Correct.
spares, where things like the Mitsubishi and the Toyotas and even
And the
like
Tritons, oh, well,
yeah,
the Mitsubishi.
things like the Fords and things like that.
Seba, congratulations on your Mitsubishi and look forward to a future Mahindra.
Yes,
Yeah.
there we go. Okay.
Okay, we'll be taking a short break, but when we return, can you expect long-term reliable service from a Ford Focus Ecoboost?
And how difficult is it to buy a Toyota Avanza from a deceased estate? Stay tuned and you'll find out. Welcome back to Buyer's Guide. Briantha is a single woman who does a daily 55-kilometer round trip to work and back. She owns a 2017 Ford Focus Ecoboost 1-liter Trend manual, which she bought new. The warranty's run out, but she recently took an extended warranty from a reputable company. Just as the waiting period ended, the engine light came on. Dear. A local Ford dealership replaced the oxygen sensor at a cost of 6,300 Rand, which the insurance approved. However, the car has developed several other issues since, and while the warranty has covered most of the repairs, she wonders how reliable the car will be going forward, and if she should consider swapping it for something newer. Okay, Mike, she's got a, what is that, nearly a, what is it, 6-year-old car?
Six-year-old in 2 months' time.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, sell it. That's my personal opinion. And it'll be easy for her to sell it. She's got an extended warranty. Clearly, they are doing the right thing. So when she comes to selling it, the new buyer will have the benefit of that. But I think it's clear to see 2 immediate problems, and it's just going to carry on now. It's going to carry on. Sell it.
Look, I looked at the email was a bit longer in terms of explaining what was done. And the first job that Ford did while replacing the oxygen sensor, the car came back and there was a light on afterwards that reoccurred. And then they found, there was an air leak in the fuel evaporation system of the vehicle. So the problem wasn't actually the oxygen sensor, it was misdiagnosis. I can see from that they diagnosed it wrong. They should have changed the second thing first. But anyway, the insurance paid for it. So, should he
Not
he
all
get
of
rid
it, eh?
Yeah, she had to pay some of the excess.
some of it, yeah.
Should she get rid of it and buy another car? Mike, I tend to agree with you on this. It will become a bit more expensive to buy. It's at that sort of mileage where it's fairly low. You still got value in the car. It's 6 years old. In 2 or 3 years' time, it's 8 years old. Then there's problems, and that engine is not the most reliable. It's going to be due for a cam belt replacement soon, which is going to be expensive. So maybe it's time to trade it in and go and buy a really good Japanese car that's going to last a long time. Gugu, what are your feelings on this?
Look, hearing you guys, I hear what you're saying and it makes sense. I was going to say, because she doesn't want to spend money on a new car. She did say that.
Yes.
Keep it. It's paid off.
Yeah.
You've got the extended warranty, the maintenance plan, whatever it is, and make use of it.
That will be covered for the next 2. Most of those policies, Mark, are 2 years.
2 years,
correct.
So she's going to have 2 years worth.
And then
And she could
reconsider.
extend it again.
Yeah.
Guys, for me, a very important point, and it's a point she makes. She's a single woman traveling to work alone every day, 55 kilometers round trip, and she wants peace of mind.
Correct.
So unfortunately, I'll have to agree with Adam and say, go get yourself a nice Japanese car, new, with all the
Or even like a year or two old.
a year too old, but all the maintenance plans that are still in place, and that will give her definite peace of mind.
Everything's in her favor.
She can just go to change
Don't
cars
Yeah.
and check if it's time to change it or not.
Pleasure.
It is.
Thank you.
It is the right time to change it now. I would think it's the right time to change it, because in 2 years' time it's going to depreciate a lot more. If you can have issues with that car, that can be very expensive. But even the expensive of it, as Segi quite rightly says, you don't want to be driving around with angst and like, oh, I'm going to break down. Move on. Get yourself a car that is known for its inheritable or its great reliability.
And finally, here's a question from Takalani, who has the option of buying a 2015 Toyota Avanza with just over 130,000 kilometers on the clock. That's selling for 120,000 Rand. So far, so good. There are a few issues though. First, the car was reportedly stolen and recovered, not once, twice. Secondly, the owner of the vehicle is deceased. So will his wife legally be allowed to sell the car? And can Takalani transfer ownership to himself? On the plus side, the Avanza was used to transport goods between Protea Glen in Soweto to OR Tambo International Airport. And should he buy the car, he'll have the opportunity to take over the business as well. Okay, Gugu. All that said and done, okay, he has the opportunity of buying the Avanza with the business. Is that Avanza even worth anything, having been stolen twice? So that car's already a code 3. And in a deceased estate, the estate's got to be wound up first before the car can be sold.
I think it's way too complicated. There's too many complications. You've got the theft twice. It's probably going to be a third time once it's in his hands. You've got
Third time unlucky.
Yeah, exactly. You've got the promise of a business, which, that's also complicated. You've got a deceased person. You need to transfer that onto this new guy's name. I think get another Avanza if you want one.
At 120K, I'm sure you'll get another one.
Yeah, it's not worth 120,000 rand if it's been stolen a couple of times.
There you go.
And I would certainly think it's something along these lines. You need to get professional advice from, a legal person to say, look, this is the situation. Because the wife can say, well, here's the car, give me some money, and here's the papers. And then the state can come back and say, no, you cannot do that. So talk to the people a legal person, and give you correct advice. Do you agree with me there?
If you had started with me, I would have given you either the short or the long answer. The short answer is no. The long answer is
No.
an explanation. Absolutely. That car has been stolen twice. Might be a code 3, might not be. Might have police numbers, might not have police numbers. It's always going to be a target. You've got to ask yourself, stolen twice from Protea Glen to the airport. Is the vehicle being followed? That contract that he's looking to take over, are they a target? But most importantly, what you said, is it the last Avanza in South Africa? Most definitely not. The price is not wrong on paper. There's just too many variables that make it a no.
Yeah, there's too many legal and technical reasons why we would say no. Really get some advice from an attorney to find out what the legalities are of it before you go and do that, because it could end up in tears.
Something has just come to mind. 120,000 including the contract. We don't know what the contract is worth, but that would make the Avanza very, very cheap. So maybe this Avanza is a total wreck.
Yeah.
It's had that stolen and recovered. No, don't do it.
Yeah, take some professional advice on it. And just like that, we've come to the end of another episode. Gugu and Michael, thank you guys for joining us today and giving us, as usual, some really good advice. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Until next time, remember to keep left and pass right.